Hello YouTube, this is Shirley426, and today we have the review of the robot Damashii Kampfer ver anime. Now, what you see in front of you is a reissue version. So recently Gundam Base re-released this, or Bandai re-released this figure, so I decided to go try it out as well. Because the first time when this was initially releasing, that was a time where I wasn't still sure whether I wanted to keep going on with ver anime figures or robot Damashii in general. But yeah, after trying about 10 or plus more figures, I decided to go with this as well. Because I was a big fan of the Kampfer at some point, and then yeah, just wanted to see how it is, because I've heard nothing but good stuff regarding this figure. Alright, and that was the time where I went out early to Gundam Base, to a different Gundam Base that I usually don't go to get this one as well, because there are people like me who wants to get it, and there are also a lot of buttload of resellers who will get this. They will purchase this with their discounts, points and coupons, and then resell it online right away. So I wanted to avoid that. Alright, so let's see what we got. So first of all, what you get, of course, is obviously the Bazooka Kampfer ver anime, the Kampfer itself. Now, I would like to point out I do not own the HGUC Kampfer, so I won't be able to make any comparisons. Now, I do technically own the Kampfer, the Amazing, but that's kind of a different situation, so which is why I'm not bringing it out. Alright, so let's see what we got for in terms of weapons. So first of all, we get these two stern files. So as far as I know, these are like grenades that you can launch as well. These are pretty powerful weapons, even in Gundam Battle Operation 2. The interesting part is that we also have these small yellow decals, or like paints or extra details going on these weapons. These are like usually one-time use weapons, but still they did a pretty good job on the detail. So that's that. I will be attaching everything later because to save time. And then we get two beam saber hilts and effect parts. I already attached them right away, so looking nice. Looking very nice. And yeah, the beam saber hilts itself do have a nice gimmick on here, where you can attach it to the sides of the leg to make it look like that the beam saber has popped out from the leg. So I'll be demonstrating that later, but still very good. And then we get the two giant bazookas, or I believe these are, I know they have a specific name, but still we get two bazookas. They are identical, very looking cool and long and big, and they are a little bit on the heavy side, I will admit, because when you put these onto the backpack, they will actually make it slightly back heavy. But still, we got more of those extra small decal details going on here. Nothing too special here. You can move the handles, and even the scope here actually has that green color on it. So that's a pretty nice detail going on there. So I'm going to put one away, because there's one thing I need to mention regarding the effect parts. Now, you get two shotguns, but you get one with a stock and one without a stock. Now, I personally prefer this version because it's much easier to attach it to the hand, while this one you have to like maneuver the fingers from this part as well. Now, I was personally hoping that you would have an option to actually detach this, because I believe I actually used to own the older HG version of the Kampfer, so this was before HGUCs were a thing. So I actually did own one, and I believe you did have the option to not attach this, or I could be remembering something else, but yeah. And it seems like they were actually considering that, looking at this, because there's a hole there and there's a slight hole there in the handle, so I think they were originally planning to do that, but apparently it got scrapped. Now, I also already attached the holster for the shotgun for the back, just to save time, but I would like to mention you are able to do the same thing on the one with the stock. Just pointing that out. And I'm going to leave this one here, and you actually get an extra antenna, because once again, these type of antennas are always the part that could be easily can easily break, or the most fragile area, so it's always good to have spares. I am really thankful for this aspect. And let's see what we got for some other parts. So we get the chain mine whip, definitely long. There's 21 mines on this. Yes, I actually did count them. Hopefully I counted them correctly. Very long, but we're using those wires, so you can pretty much use this any way you want. And we also have these type of small pegs going on here. So if a different figure has these small holes around the body or leg area, so you can have a little bit easier time to latch them on instead of just wrapping it around with this. I mean, technically you could wrap it around, but very long weapon. I think this is the longest weapon we've seen so far in the ver anime line. Or who knows, maybe there's even something longer. Alright, so here we have the hands. So currently I'm using the multi-purpose hands on the actual figure. There's no fist hands, but we have two trigger fingers, two hands with the angled grip, the angled part on the inside. So if you want to hold the beam saber in a slight angle, you use this. You get a fully open set of hands, and then we get semi-open hands as well. So typical stuff, and we get the hand rack. Nothing too special about that. Now we get 6 thruster parts, but I would like to point out 4 of them are the ones with the straight pegs. Nothing too special about that. And then we get two of these effect parts with the angled pegs. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So in total we get 6 thruster effect parts. These are always good to have. And then here we have some other effect parts. So number 1, we have this one, the explosive effect part. So I think we've seen this before. So basically we have this square peg on the bottom, which is actually attached to a ball joint. Now these are usually meant for, like, for example, this is the shield from the Gym Cold Districts type for anime. So you have these square holes here. You can attach these here to give out that, you know, that the shield blocked, or it's going to some sort of like explosive round or something like that. So to give that extra effect. And I say this really looks good. I'm not gonna lie, this really looks good. So the more you have these type of things, the more, like, you know, intense battle scenes you can recreate. And here we have the effect for the shotgun effect part. So they made it yellow. Yeah, and I think we did see something similar like this, but with the Alex actually had something similar like this. Of course the peg was slightly different, but still it works very well. It's really cool looking. So that's that. And I'm gonna put away the shotgun for now. And then here we have the bazooka effect part. Actually, yeah, let's leave one here as well, because the bazooka, this one, we've seen this before with something similar with the prototype Gundam for anime. You can attach it here, but I am going to show you guys later, but this becomes very heavy. The effect part itself is actually much heavier than the bazooka. So once you attach it to the figure like this, the bazooka is just going to be very front heavy, and it's just going to flop down like that. And according to the manual, like the prototype Gundam, for example, they actually gave you the effect part for the front and for the back of the bazooka, where you would get an extra smoke effect. Instead of a smoke effect, according to the manual, there's a small hole there. You can use the thruster effect part to get that extra, you know, firing effect feel. Now, it's not as good as the one that we saw from the prototype Gundam, but still, I say it could work. It can work. Okay, there we go. That was a little bit stiff. And yeah, and it is overall stiff to pull out. Alright, so now let's see what we got for the figure itself. So that took a little bit long, but still, I had to mention it. So another thing I would like to mention is that on the figure itself, I already attached the adapters, or like connector parts for the sternfaust and for the bazookas on the back, so you can just attach it here. And one thing I really like about this aspect is that the old kit I used to have was that you could still attach the bazookas onto the back, but they would just clip on, so they would be very wobbly. They would move all over the place. But this one, they actually have a small, you can see here, there's actually a small square peg hole, so it actually locks it into place. I really love that aspect. So that's that. Alright, so now let's get the figure itself for articulation. So let's see what's the head. So the head is looking very nice. Once again, the mono eyes are slightly, you know, smaller, and it's a little bit hard to see depending on which angle you're looking at, but very looking menacing as well. And we get all these symbols already attached to the figure, and you are able to pop off the front head and actually move the mono eye if you want to do so. They actually move pretty easily. So just be, you know, make sure it's on the position that you want it to be. Now, of course, one side effect I'm slightly having is that this part is a little bit easy to pull out. So yeah, and so the head can also slightly come out a little bit more like that. So if you want to have a longer neck, you can do that. So it can go down that much, and then up not so much. And then 360 twist, I think I could force it, but I am not gonna force it. So yeah. And then the back of the head flap does actually move slightly up, so it doesn't always collide with the backpack or the back section. So they did put a lot of consideration and engineering to this thing to give out less damage by its own design. Now let's get the body main here. The body definitely looking good. We have all of these yellow parts that are separate pieces, and they can be all, if you have more thruster effect parts, you can attach more onto these parts. And they did a pretty good job on the paint. Usually these figures, you would sometimes, luck is a factor where sometimes you would have to hope that the paint on the figure is all, you know, nice and clean. Sometimes you could get smudges. So the body itself, you actually have a very nice ab crunch going on here, forward and backward. And then 360, surprisingly, it is possible for a 360 twist as well. And that's pretty much it for the main body. Let's look at the backpack first. So looking at the back, we have all these thrusters going on here. Definitely looking nice. These thrusters also move on their own individually with ball joints. Now these adapters do have slight movement, but they're mostly locked into place, so no need to worry about that. We'll get to the legs later. And the main shoulder parts. Now one side has the spikes, one side doesn't. This always kind of made me confused why, because I do think the spikes do look cool. But once again, these spikes are kind of they are a little bit sharp, so do be careful. And so the shoulder can move forward and backward like that. That's actually pretty good. And then 360 is no problem as well. And then you can go move the arm. Let's see. You can actually move the shoulder arm itself like that. There's another joint inside, so you can move the arm about 90 degrees to the side, and then 360 twist on the arm. The lower arm itself is still possible, and we have a nice bend going on here. And we still have your typical Robot Damashii style hands, where the ball joint is on the arm, not on the hand. So same situation, pretty much the same situation on the other shoulder, where you can move it separately as well. So that's that. Now looking at the legs, we have a nice forward and backward movement on like this on the sides. You can move forward pretty well, 90 degrees, and then back also pretty much, because there's no front skirt or side skirt or back skirt that's blocking the way. And let's see, I would like to mention one gimmick where regarding the beam sabers. Let me take out one. So what you can do here on the leg is that you can actually pull the small circle sections out. Let me, if I can get the right position. Yeah, there's a small latch where you can capture here. There you go. You can pull that out, and then oops, there we go. You can plug in the beam saber. So because the beam sabers are actually technically stored in the legs here on the sides, and these are actually the bottom tip of the beam saber. So you can do like this. You can get that illusion where it's actually popping out from the leg. So that is very cool. I do like these type of gimmicks. So let me just plug that back in. There we go. Now for the legs, the bend wise, we have a nice bend going on here. Now one thing I've recently noticed is that thanks to Gundam Holic, is that the HGUC version also does have this part, but this part doesn't move on the HGUC version. So you can actually move this up and down, and then this is slightly on another extra joint there, so you can move it side to side if you want to do so. So you can actually get a full bend, a nice bend going on there as well. So that's actually a very plus side. So sometimes there's always these arguments, which is better, the figure or the HGUC counterpart. There's no answer. It really depends on your taste, but there are sometimes like each product has their own, like, you know, unique aspects. So yeah, I can't really say which is superior. If you obviously, some people will base it on price, some people will base it on like Gunpla, you actually build it, figures you don't. So there's multiple aspects, so please stop arguing about that aspect. Okay, so and then we've seen the bend. So the feet, let me just check if we have those white powder things on the inside again. Once again, this time I'm not seeing those white powders, but we have multiple thrusters. Here's going on the legs as well, and this is where you attach that extra shotgun. If you have the connector here, this is where you attach it here. But I've noticed is that, I mean, it plugs in pretty well, but it will pop off eventually. But still, I think you need to really push it in as far as possible. Of course, even if you get the adapter there, the clip itself is kind of weak, so it is easy to rip off the shotgun. So just wanted to point that out. Alright, and then for spread wise, it doesn't really go to the side that much, because I don't think the Kampfer is supposed to do that at the first place. The feet itself, there's multiple moving points. So number one, so let me check this out. So you can move the feet, this front section a little bit, you have a slight movement, and then the toe itself does have a movement as well, and then I believe the back section also has movement, and we should have a nice pivot going on here, since it is a ball jointed feet. Alright, so we've seen the basics of the figure itself, so I'll be right back with the everything pretty much attached to the figure. Okay, I'm back. So currently I attach all the weapons now, except for the chain mine, and the beam saber is obviously still stored in the legs technically, and then this shotgun kept falling off from the back section, so I just ripped it off. Then I attached a few, you know, thruster effect parts, mostly on the legs, and then there was one on the crotch piece, so I thought that would be interesting to do so, and one onto the shoulder sections, because, you know, we don't see many people do that these days. So yeah, so let me just get rid of some effect parts from the shoulders. so that I can now land this on ground, because after using this action base, the same action base for some, I think it's been like what, 1 or 2 years, the action base has become slightly weaker. Now I could technically tighten the joints up, but there are some joints, even after tightening them up, it doesn't really work anymore. So here we have everything that's attached to the mobile suit itself. So currently, as you can see, I'm kind of making the weight balance to the front because of the extra bazookas. Now they're not as heavy as you think, but still, since there's 2 of them, especially on the back, it does make it slightly back heavy. Now on the legs, we have the stern faucets on the legs. They're just pretty much clipped on here, and so they can move up and down because the main joint is on the peg, and you can rotate that around, although it's not the most pleasant noise. Now here is where the shotgun is supposed to be held. Now my only guess is that it's either colliding with the top thruster or the extra bazooka here, because it just kept falling off after I clipped it on. So once again, with the extra open hands, you can really do a nice natural shotgun pose. Although I think it would have been a really killer item if the shotgun could actually this could actually slide. That would have been really interesting. And once again, I did technically show you guys how the effect part works, so you can just pretty much slap that on there and you're good to go. Really love that effect part. And yeah, so this is what it looks like once you have everything attached on. So let's do a few more demonstrations with the bazooka, the stern faucet, and others and other stuff. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So currently I attached one of the stern faucets onto the other hand, and the other end has the bazooka. Nothing too problematic holding the weapon itself, although I do suggest that you take off one of the adapters, because sometimes the bazooka clip can collide with the bazooka. But of course you can still use it if you want to do so. I just took it out for now. So as you can see, it has no problem holding the bazooka, and thanks for the bazooka's handles able to move up and down. That's actually very helpful. And now let's try to, you can pretty much get some natural poses, but once you have the freaking effect part on, let's see, you get the idea. It's just so heavy that it droops down. As you can see, it just droops down, so that's a little bit of a bummer. So I do suggest, if you have extra action bases, especially with the ones with the claws, maybe you have to support that with this. So as you can see, it just does that. So that is a little bit of downside, because I do really like these type of effect parts, especially for the bazookas, because we've seen plenty enough for the beam machine guns or beam rifles or machine guns in general. We don't get these too often, but still, yeah, they really need to do something about that. All right, so I think we've finished off with the the long range weapons. So now let's go into the close combat weapons. So I'll be right back. Okay, so here's the final part. So I gave the left hand the beam saber, and on the right hand I gave the chain mines. So apparently for the Jim Cole Districts type, there's no extra ports or holes for the chain mines to plug into. But once again, thanks to the extra wire gimmick, you are pretty much able to wrap around the mobile suit with the chain mine. So no big deal with that. So let me just get him out of there just in case. And yeah, the chain mine works pretty well, and with the extra wire, you can pretty much make it into any position you want to do so. Although holding it with, you are able to properly hold it. It's not the best firmest grip, so it will sometimes move around, but still it works. It works. And definitely loving the chain mine, and also the beam saber looks really cool on the Kampfer for some reason. So maybe it's just because of the fact that even up to this point there weren't many Xeon type mobile suits that actually uses beam sabers. Maybe it could be that, but still, excluding the HGUC, so still I really find it cool. And yeah, here is the extended neck part. Just in case I didn't show you guys, kind of looks creepy when you look at that as a neck extension in a way, but still, yeah. And that's pretty much it for the review for the Robot Damashii Kampfer anime. So once again, this is the reissue version. If you missed your first chance, you still have a second chance. There's going to be some resellers going to be listing this product out there. So hopefully for those who really want this figure, you can get this as your second chance. Anyway, thanks for watching the review. This was the review of the Kampfer anime. If you guys got any questions or requests, leave them comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. And the next figure that should be arriving should be the Jim Cole anime, so let's hope that's a good one as well. Until then, see you guys next time.